June the 6th, 2024 was a pretty important date when it comes to real estate here in Toronto, here in Canada. We did have a rate announcement, and newsflash, that did decrease by 0.25 basis points. And the stats for the Toronto real estate market came out, and they were rather unflattering when it comes to the amount of sales for the months. Let's break down what exactly those two announcements mean for the Toronto real estate market and go through the numbers between condos, townhouses, semi-detached, and detached properties. I'm Michael Ouzas. I'm a realtor here in Toronto. If you ever want to break down what these numbers look like for you specifically and your market that you're looking to either buy or sell in, you can book a call with me in the first link in the description down below, whenever works for you. A lot has happened here in the Toronto real estate market, and if you were on social media on June the 6th, you may have seen 6 million reels from realtors talking about how the Bank of Canada decreased the rate by 0.25 basis points. For this video, we're going to break this down into two parts. The first one, we'll talk about the numbers for May, and the second part will touch base on that interest rate announcement, what exactly it means for you if you are considering getting into the Toronto real estate market. We're jumping right into this chart because it pretty much lays everything out of where we've been and where we are. The month of May 2024 was the slowest month of May for sales that we have seen since the year 2000. In fact, there was one slower than this year, and that was May 2020. If you recall, May 2020, we were in full lockdown mode here in the city of Toronto. So this Greater Toronto area sales of 7,000 was the slowest we've seen in basically about 25 years. We did see an uptick in active listings. In fact, we have the most active listings that we have seen since a year ago. This 21,760, just under 22,000 sales, puts us around 3 months of inventory. And I know I always say it, but that's the number that we've been watching. We've been seeing the months of inventory increase month over month since basically February. We're still quite a ways off of the peak of February 2022 when interest rates were significantly lower. We also haven't quite hit May 2023's number, which was the highest we saw back in 2023 of just under $1,200,000. Now, taking a look at this interest rate announcement page, and actually this dot should be here because this announcement happened in June. So we'll see how this plays out when it comes to the month of June and where pricing's at that point. But we have been seeing this trend here of pricing going up. Now, taking a look at the benchmark prices per property type, and that's what we're going to focus this video on, is what exactly is the difference between a condo price and a detached price with a Toronto address. So this is no longer Greater Toronto area. We're talking Toronto 416 area code specifically. This gap between detached and condos, about $1 million on the benchmark price standpoint. And looking at townhouses, you're looking at about a $200,000 premium over condos. And then the jump from a townhouse to a semi-detached is about $400,000. Quite a significant jump from a townhouse to a semi-detached property. And semi-detached, I know I've been saying it in all these videos, has been the hottest product in the city of Toronto. And it makes a lot of sense because if you purchased a condo and you've been living there for 5 years, and back 5 years ago, that condo was about $570,000 and now it's about $700,000. That's a pretty good amount of equity plus the pay down in that time to make that jump into a bigger property. It may even have given you the down payment needed for getting into a freehold semi-detached or row house here in the city of Toronto. Now, taking a look at the detached, it is a significant jump. So most people would go from condos to semis and then semis to the detached if that's the jump they can make, or townhouse to semi to detached. It's pretty rare in my experience that someone can go from a condo directly to a detached in the same location in the city of Toronto if they're looking at the prime areas in the city, because those detached properties in those prime areas still sell at a premium and they are still moving relatively quickly. Now, taking a look at the detached market, we have seen a significant increase in active listings. In fact, we went from 739 detached properties in the city of Toronto. And just to put that in perspective, we have 4 million people in the city of Toronto. So that's not a lot of detached properties in the city. Just under half of them sold for 2.16 months of inventory. And that average price was around $1,570,000. Here in May, 2,000 active listings, a significant jump from 740, 851 sales, months of inventory relatively similar at 2.3, and the average price up and around just over 1.8. So you can see as the months of inventory got lower and the absorption started to get faster and faster, that lower months of inventory will bring prices up because there is demand for those properties. Now, taking a look at the semi-detached market, similar story. 1.2 was the average price back in January, 137 active listings. And also keep in mind, 4 million people, if they're looking for a semi-detached property, that is not a lot of listings available. 106 of them sold, 1.29 months of inventory. And then the absorption really skyrocketed. We're down to 0.7 months of inventory. So basically there were more sales than active listings. The flow through from active listings were absorbed really quickly from buyers. That's where we saw the prices jump up by about 100,000 from January to March and another 100,000 into May, as the inventory remains still relatively tight for semi-detached properties in the city of Toronto. When we are taking a look at townhouses, row houses, any attached, the months of inventory was 3.4 back in January and decreased going into May. Now this average price is significantly higher than January, and that may have been because some of the more expensive townhouses that maybe wouldn't quite get up to the semi-detached properties were starting to sell, and that's where it's pulling that average up quite significantly from even where things were in March and April. 2.4 months of inventory, still very much a seller's market, but trending towards a balanced market. Now condos, and this is where things have significantly changed in the course of 2024. We saw 3,200 active listings in the city of Toronto, 883 sales, 3.64 months of inventory. So you're looking at average price around 709,000. Now prices have still been increasing month over month when it comes to condos in the city of Toronto. Even with the almost doubling of listings, we have seen sales ramp up as well. We are still in a 4.47, very much a balanced, moving into a buyer's territory when it comes to condos. However, pricing has been gradually increasing month over month, putting us around $767,000. It's really important to be micro pocket dependent when you are looking for condos right now, because even in, for example, Toronto CO1, there's a significant amount of condos compared to other areas in the city, depending on what you're looking for and where you're looking. I mentioned interest rate announcement, and this is how that looks. And in my previous video, I talked about this. Basically, on the fixed side, and most buyers right now have been looking to the fixed rates because they are almost 2% lower than where the variable rate is. Anytime the Bank of Canada makes those announcements is 100% for the variable side. So it doesn't affect those with fixed rate mortgages. If you are on the variable side and you borrowed $100,000, you'd be saving about $15 per month. On a mortgage of $500,000, for example, your savings would be about $75 a month on that payment. If they make a change in July, that would obviously double this, and now you're saving about $150 a month per $500,000 borrowed, and that's a pretty significant change in monthly payments. So it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out as we go, and whether or not they make a decision in July is anyone's guess at this point. We talked about these key takeaways in another video, so go check that one out. Overall, it's been an interesting market in the city of Toronto. We basically have two different markets. We have the freehold market and we have the condo market. Both are performing very differently at the same time. If you are looking for a condo, there is choice out there. However, the units that are well laid out and well staged and look great, just like we've talked about basically for all of time, are still getting relative activity. Those prices have also been hanging in there as we've trended along through this year. If the variable side starts coming down, and there are investors who are on the variable side, if their payments start to come down a little bit, they may not be so keen to selling at the moment, and that may take a little more time or even inventory off the market. That's still remain to be seen. And if you are looking for a semi-detached property in the city of Toronto, and this is a super important consideration, those properties are still active all across the city. I'm seeing multiple offers still to this day on those properties, and detached properties in those prime areas in the city also getting multiple offers or preemptive offers even in some cases. So even though there are more listings now than there have been in a while, many of them are condos. And what we're also noticing is that there is a lot of properties on the market that need a lot of work, and they are priced quite high for the amount of work required to bring them up to market value in comparison to something that's already renovated and selling in the same pocket, same neighborhood, same micro market. That will remain to be seen if those properties that do need a lot of work start dropping their price, and if they do end up selling, that may have an effect on the average price month over month. All remain to be seen. It's going to be an interesting summer, especially as we have some great weather here finally in the city of Toronto. I'm Michael Ouzas. Thanks for watching.